It was a Tuesday night, just like any other. The classroom air was thick with the smell of old books and chalk dust. We were all there for a second chance. Night school at Santa Monica High was a collection of dreamers and drifters, people who had missed their first shot at a diploma. I was one of them, a quiet kid named Roy, just trying to get through algebra. Then the teacher, a kind woman named Mrs. Gable, cleared her throat. She had an announcement. A new student was joining our little world. We all turned our heads, expecting another face lost in the shuffle of life's hard knocks. But this was different. This was a face we all knew, even if we couldn't quite place it at first. In walked Robert Downey Jr., not the superstar he is today, of course. This was 1982. He was young, just a teenager with a spark in his eyes that could light up the entire room. He had already been in a few movies, a rising star, but here he was in our night school class. A murmur went through the room, whispers of his name, questions of why. He took a seat in the back, a simple desk just like mine. He didn't act like a celebrity. He just seemed like a kid who needed to be there. Mrs. Gable continued the lesson, but the energy had shifted. There was a new story in our small room, a new chapter we would all be a part of. I didn't talk to him at first. I was too shy, too caught up in my own world of trying to pass tests and figure out my future. But he had a way of making people feel seen. He would ask questions in class not to show off, but because he was genuinely curious. He would joke with the teacher and his laughter was infectious. It wasn't the laugh of an actor playing a part, it was the real thing. He seemed to carry a light with him, a magnetic pull that drew you in. I would watch him from my desk, this person from a completely different world, and wonder what brought him to the same wooden desk as me, under the same flickering fluorescent lights. One evening after a particularly difficult math quiz, he walked over to my desk. "Hey," he said with a casual smile, "you seem to get this stuff. I'm Robert." I was a bit stunned. "I just mumbled my name, Roy." He pointed to a problem on his paper, a confusing mess of X's and Y's. "Can you explain this to me?" he asked. And just like that, the wall between our worlds came down. We weren't a famous actor and a quiet kid anymore. We were just two students, two friends, trying to solve an equation together. That night, a friendship started, built on the simple foundation of helping one another. It was a lesson I would never forget. Our friendship grew beyond the classroom walls. It spilled into late-night study sessions fueled by greasy pizza and cheap soda. We would meet at a small pizzeria down the street, its red checkered tablecloths becoming the backdrop to our conversations. We talked about everything and nothing. He told me about auditions, about the pressures of Hollywood, about the strange world of make-believe. I told him about my simple dreams, my family, my hopes for a quiet life. He never made me feel small. He listened with an intensity that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. He had a gift for connection, a genuine kindness that shone through. These moments were our escape. We were just two kids, not a future movie star and a night school student. We were Roy and Robert. We would drive along the Pacific Coast Highway in his old beat-up car, the windows down and the radio blasting. The salty air would whip through our hair as we sang along, completely off-key. He had a wild energy, a thirst for life that was contagious. He made me feel brave. He taught me to laugh at myself, to not take everything so seriously. We were creating memories, simple and pure, the kind that stick with you forever, long after the bright lights have faded. One night everything changed. We were driving home after a late study session, feeling good about an upcoming exam. The streets were dark, slick with a light rain. We were laughing about something silly, a joke Mrs. Gable had made. And then, in a flash of headlights and the screech of tires, our world turned upside down. Another car ran a red light. The impact was violent, a sudden brutal jolt that threw us forward. The sound of shattering glass and crunching metal filled the air. Then, there was silence. A heavy, terrifying silence broken only by the sound of the rain tapping on the broken windshield. In the chaotic aftermath, my first thought was of him. I looked over. He was conscious but in pain. His arm was twisted at an unnatural angle. Yet, the first words out of his mouth were for me. "Roy, are you okay?" he asked, his voice strained. In that moment of fear and shock, his first instinct was to check on his friend. That is the measure of a person. Not the fame, not the fortune, but the love and care they show for others when things are at their worst. The ambulance arrived, its flashing lights painting the scene in red and blue. Our night of laughter had ended in a hospital, but our friendship had just been tested and proven true. The hospital was a sterile white world of beeps and hushed voices. I had escaped with minor cuts and bruises, but Robert's injuries were more serious. He had a broken arm and a long road of recovery ahead of him. The accident had shaken us both to our core. It was a stark reminder of how fragile life is, how quickly everything can change. The carefree nights of pizza and coastal drives felt like a distant memory. Now, we were faced with a different kind of challenge, one that required patience and strength. I spent every day I could at the hospital sitting by his bedside. We didn't talk much about the crash. We didn't need to. Instead, we talked about the future. I would bring him his homework, and we would try to study, though it was difficult. The nurses all knew him, of course. They would come in asking for autographs, their faces starstruck. But he was always gracious, always kind. He would sign their papers, and then turn back to me, back to our conversation about algebra or history. He never let the outside world intrude on our friendship. He showed me that you can be in the spotlight but still hold on to the quiet, simple things that truly matter. His family was there, of course, offering their support. But in those quiet hospital hours, it was often just the two of us. I would read to him from our textbooks, trying to keep his spirits up. He would make jokes, even when he was in pain, trying to make me laugh. It was in that quiet room that I saw his true character. Not the actor, but the man. A man who faced adversity with courage and humor. A man who valued friendship above all else. He was teaching me a lesson without even trying. He was teaching me about resilience, about the power of a positive spirit in the face of hardship. Slowly, he began to heal. The cast on his arm became a canvas for our classmates to sign. It was a symbol of our shared journey, a testament to the bonds formed in that little night school classroom. When he was finally discharged, it felt like a victory for all of us. We had faced a storm together and come out the other side, a little banged up but stronger. The accident could have torn us apart, but instead, it forged our friendship in a fire, making it unbreakable. We had learned a valuable lesson about leaning on each other when life gets tough. We both graduated from night school. We stood on that stage, two friends who had started as strangers and had been through so much. It was a proud moment. For him, it was a small step on a much larger journey. For me, it was everything. After graduation, our lives took different paths, as they so often do. His star rose higher and higher, until he became one of the biggest names in the world. He was no longer just the kid from my algebra class, he was a global icon, a superhero on the silver screen. Our late-night pizza runs became a cherished memory from a simpler time. I followed his career from a distance, watching his incredible comeback story unfold. I saw him face his own personal demons with a public and profound courage. And I knew deep down that the strength I saw on the screen was the same strength I had seen in that hospital room years ago. It was the same resilience, the same unwavering spirit. My life took a quieter route. I went to college, got a steady job, and built a family. I found my happiness not in the roar of the crowd, but in the gentle whispers of a life well lived, a life filled with love and simple joys. Every now and then I think about those days. I think about the lessons I learned from my famous friend. He taught me about kindness. He showed me that you can have everything and still treat everyone with respect and compassion. He taught me about believing in yourself. He faced incredible odds and never gave up, inspiring millions, including me. He showed me that it's okay to ask for help, whether it's with a math problem or with the bigger challenges life throws at you. The most important lessons in life don't always come from a textbook. And so the story ends. But the lessons live on. The story is about friendship, yes, but it's also about hope. It's about knowing that no matter where you start or what challenges you face, you have the power to write your own ending. It's about staying true to who you are, whether you're in a quiet classroom or on the world's biggest stage. It's about the quiet moments, the shared slices of pizza, the supportive words in a hospital room. These are the things that make a life. These are the lessons that a boy named Robert taught a boy named Roy, all those years ago on a Tuesday night.